It's Chase Daniel, no S, and he's still the cutest. What's up, YouTube? It's NFL Week 14 picks against the spread video for the 2019 NFL season, and I want to give a big congratulations to Detroit one time, aka Boss Lion, for going 13-3 against the spread for Week 13. Fat guy, let's look at the top 10. Detroit one time, 13-3 in first place. Then we have a three-way tie at second between Big Rick, Mississippi Pimp, and Cassone, who all went 12-4. Then we have winner, sub for Fat Guy, World War III, LeBron James is a POS, LGPC, all going 11-5, and as well as shout out to Lou 2811 for going 10-6. We were what, 7-9 this week?
And not as good as those guys.
Not as good as those guys, that's for sure. But let's take a look at the overall standings, where Jake Jacobs, picked last, is still in first place with 110 wins. 4 games above us at 106 wins. Then we have Gay for Fat Guy, Mickey Hill, and E Steelers tied for third. Detroit one time with that excellent
climbing the ladder
all the way up to 6. Tuple missed a few games, drops down to 100, and then we have Bo, Micro Odds, and Sir Pocket of Hope to finish us off.
Yeah, they finished us off.
We're 106, 85-1 for the year, good for 55.5%. It's been an excellent year.
Yeah, we've downslid a little bit, but I mean, look at that record. Contrarian theory, doing its work at its finest. Pretty satisfied with those numbers.
Pretty satisfied. Let's look at the name of the week. Honorable mentions. We'll start off with Stevie Janowski's Chin, one of my personal favorites. Big Rise Mike. Fat Guy is Dylan's dad.
Maybe.
A gal from Boston named Ted.
Don't remind me.
And Edmund Ridgway, even though he's Edmund, I'm Ridgway.
It's a portmanteau of serial killers, Edmund Kemper and Gary Ridgway. Me, obviously, being the taller, being Edmund Kemper, and good old Gary Ridgway here, the guy with the little French tickler mustache.
And Fat Guy, I'm going to let you have this name of the week.
It's the JS715 name of the week. We gotta brand it. Come on, pal. It's Jura Loves the Clapper. Now, we could have improved this name by changing it to Jura Loves the Clap, but that would require way too much comedic timing. But as it goes, this is topical. It works. It's football related. I get that my promiscuity and certain people's tendencies are are good to make fun of, but we had to move on for this week. So Jura Loves the Clapper is the winner this week.
And remember, you can compete for Week 14 at BigRyanTheFatGuy.com if you're too lazy to go there. The link is just below us. Check out the description.
Now, this is the wager of the century. If New Orleans is unable to cover the 3.5-point spread, Dylan Toddfield is going to have to shave off his eyebrows. It was set on our live stream. This was set on our live stream. We do it every Sunday and Monday, sometimes Thursday. And now, if San Francisco is unable to cover the 3.5-point spread as underdogs, Mickey Hill is going to have to buy 2 Domino's pizzas and a 2-liter pop and buffalo wings, and those are 2 pizzas of Dylan's choosing, and send them to Dylan Toddfield.
He also wants buttered crust.
He had mentioned that he wanted buttered and seasoned crust for the pizza. Anyways, that's the wager of the century. It'll be Mickey Hill as Duncan McLeod and the Kurgan played by Dylan Toddfield. Let's see how it breaks down.
If this game wasn't what we thought it was going to be, it's definitely a 5-star game.
It's a 5-star game now. How could you know?
I still think it's a little bit lopsided, like 2 pizzas, really. I would have gone with 1, Mickey, but 2 pizzas will have to.
Whatever.
Let's throw that black bar up and head to the NFL Week 14. Whoa. NFL Week 14 picks. Let's start off on Thursday Night Football, Fat Guy, where the Dallas Cowboys travel to Chicago to take on the Bears. Bears 3-point underdogs at home. 24% of early bettors are on the Bears. Fat Guy, who you got?
That was a classic Fat Guy pick. Chicago Bears. Who else? Bears, I get 3 points at home. Bears underwhelming as of late, we could say. But so the Cowboys. I mean, they lost to Buffalo. 7-point favorites at home, losing outright, gaining a little bit of clout. The confidence in Dallas seems to always be pretty reasonable. I would think it would be more elastic considering how many fans they are, but it isn't. The Bears, though, you know what I'm going to say? This is a good thing to realize. When there is a poor quarterback situation, I feel like there's extra value on that team because quarterbacks dictate so much of the game. They're so important. But people underestimate the basement, I would say, for quarterbacks. And it just might be one of those situations. I don't think Chase Daniel I don't think Mitchell Trubisky is a good quarterback. I don't think Chase Daniel is necessarily as far as starters go, but Chase Daniel I do feel is better than Mitchell Trubisky. Although Trubisky will be starting, I still feel that he's not that good. But 3 points at home is just too much meat on the bone. I think this should be Chicago minus 1.5. There's meat on this bone. The public doesn't like it. Give me the Chicago Bears.
Next up, moving on to Sunday's early games. Baltimore Ravens travel to Buffalo to take on the Bills. Bills 5.5-point underdogs at home. 23% of early bettors are on the Bills. Fat guy, who you got?
Bet of the week. Buffalo Bills, 5.5 points. I'm getting points at home with the Bills. I don't think I should be getting points at home with the Bills against anybody. The Bills have been playing fantastic. Coached well, defense is good, quarterback play has been reasonable, and throw all that handicapping stuff out the window because 23% of people at this moment are on the Bills, and the line has moved from 7 to 5.5. Every factor in play is going in the Bills' favor. This isn't a lock or anything, but this is a play of the week for the fat guy, and this is one of the better bets, I think, of the year. That doesn't mean they're going to win. I mean, they could lose by 40, but in the grand scheme of things, you will make money betting on the Bills on average going forward if you were to simulate this game an infinite number of times. Bills and the points at home, this is just as easy as it gets. Don't get me wrong, I do think the Ravens are the best team in the NFL right now, but I'm getting 5.5 at home, and I'm getting a strong Buffalo team. And it is the wintertime, guys, just letting you know.
The Washington Redskins travel to Green Bay to take on the Packers. Packers 13.5-point favorites. 36% of people on the Green Bay Packers. Fat guy, who you got?
Well, just to let you know, like you were talking about earlier, I drove my Packard over here, so you can't even get the words out. I'll be taking the Redskins plus 13.5. I know the public is kind of on the Redskins. They were able to snatch victory from the jaws of the Carolina Panthers. What a lame sports cliche that is. But they won. And they do kind of have a little bit of clout. That's probably why the percentages are tipped in their favor at this moment. Fat guy, you're going with the public. Yeah, I'm not a fan of laying 13.5 points. I wouldn't be betting this game by any fashion. There were 14 and 14.5 point lines earlier, but we've missed the boat on those. If I got 14.5, I probably would bet on Washington, but as it stands, I'm going to let it sit. But in the contest, you got to pick one. That's the rules, and I'll be taking the Washington Redskins. I could totally see Green Bay blowing them out really badly, though, to be perfectly honest. Hey, I added in perfectly honest. Give me the Washington Redskins and give me the 13.5 points, defying market factors.
Next up, the Denver Broncos travel to Houston to take on the Texans. The Texans are 9.5-point favorites at home. 49% of early bettors are on the Texans. Fat guy, who you got?
I swear this guy said Broncos. Well, I'm going to be taking the Broncos. I mean, it's split public-wise, but I kind of like them. The Broncos are... I feel like they've covered a reasonable amount despite disappointing us in the early going. And every week they seem to churn out reasonable performances, aside from maybe that Bills one where they lost 20-3. I mean, they are playing the Texans, who are riding about as high as they can get. Good pick for us. Texans against the New England Patriots. That helped us in a lot of ways financially. So that was a good game. I'm hoping that we can fade them this week and take the Broncos. 9.5 points seems like a reasonable amount of points. Don't forget, Texans have had some close ones. They may have blown out the Patriots more or less at home, but they've had tough games against even the Oakland Raiders. The Oakland Raiders can give them a tough game. Why can't the Denver Broncos? 9.5 points seems like too many. I feel like 7 is more close to equilibrium, so I feel like there is meat on the bone here. This would be a small play for me in real life. Contest-wise, it's an easy Broncos pick. I'm taking the Broncos, but it's not like a super in love with them. It's a small unit play.
Next up, the 5-star game of the week, the San Francisco 49ers travel to New Orleans to take on the Saints. Saints, 3-point favorites at home. Only 20% of early bettors are on the Saints, as well as Dylan Todd-Field. Somehow this game didn't get flexed out to the Sunday nighter, but for Sunday morning, Sunday early games, fat guy, who you got?
Much like Delta House, who is on double secret probation, I was a double secret contrarian, and I wore a San Francisco 49ers hat, but I'm still going to take the Saints. New Orleans Saints laying the 3 points. I like this game. 80% on the 49ers, 20 on the Saints. It doesn't even make sense to me, this distribution. It's a little bit misleading, and I'm curious. So there's something funny about this game to me, but I still like the Saints. I do think the Saints are the better team at home. I don't think it's really an argument in my brain, but then I don't want to take that handicapping lens. I want to take the contrarian theory lens. And, I mean, if it's 80-20, let's go with the Saints. But something doesn't feel right about this game. However, though, even if no matter how much money I end up putting on the Saints, which I will, the stakes could never be higher than having Mickey Hill wager his hard-earned dollars on pizza versus Dylan Toddfield's follicle frontal. So give me the Saints, and I'm going to lay the 3 points.
Next up, the Cincinnati Bengals travel to Cleveland to take on the Browns. Browns are 10-point favorites at home. 33% of early bettors, fat guy, are on the Browns. Who you got?
Purely a contest pick. I'll be taking the Cincinnati Bengals. This is the exact same scenario where I had the Dolphins against the Browns, and the Browns are able to cover, what was it, 11? And they covered it quite easily. So, I mean, I'm probably going to end up with egg on my face again. But I'm going to be taking the Cincinnati Bengals because I can't in good conscience lay 10 points with that Cleveland Browns team. It's just too many. It really is. It does defy the market plays that I always espouse. But 67%, I get why they're on the Bengals coming off their first win and completing my bet of the week. One game's closer to 500. But 10 points with the Browns, come on, can we really do that? I am going to say this, though. All that considered, there were 2 times this year, as if Vono had asked me if I regret any of my picks, and I regret 2 of them, even though the results happen to go against me. That shouldn't be the reason. But the mantra has hurt me. Like, I took Carolina last week, not happy with that, laying 9.5. They shouldn't be 9.5 points over anybody. What was I thinking? And the other one was when I was taking Indy, I think minus 10.5 against Miami. Those are both poor choices. I need to keep it uniform, and I'm going to stick to the trend, even though the percentages are with Cleveland. Well, with in the reverse implied odds type fashion. Even though they're with Cleveland, I'm still going to be taking Cincinnati because I can't lay 10 with Cleveland. It's just not what I'm about. 10 points is too many. It's a divisional game. Maybe we can see some sort of continued effort by the Bengals, but I wouldn't hold my breath. Purely a contest pick, Bengals plus 10.
And part of that reason, fact guys, I know why you're doing this, because this isn't going to stay as a 70-30 game. This is going to even out. It's going to be closer to 50-50 at kickoff time. So using contrarian plays on this game is not really going to work.
At this moment. Next
up, the Carolina Panthers travel to Hotlanta to take on the Falcons. Falcons 2.5-point favorites at home. 56% of early bettors are on the Falcons. Who you got?
I'm going to be taking the Atlanta Falcons. Again, I think they're turning it around a little bit. I got to say, that would have been the best, or probably the greatest NFL comeback. The greatest comeback in NFL history if they were able to recover and somehow... How many kickoffs did they recover, onside kicks?
Well, they recovered 2 officially, but they covered 3 unofficially.
Yeah, with a penalty. That's unbelievable, considering how difficult it is. I don't know what the math on it is, but it's in the thousands. It cut probably like 14 in 1,000, something weird like that. 21 in 1,000 probably. Anyways, the Atlanta Falcons I think is a clear choice here, only for the contest though. The contrarian theory doesn't favor either side. I think 3 is probably equilibrium, so maybe there's a half-point edge on taking the Atlanta Falcons. So I'm going to take the Atlanta Falcons. I'm going to lay the 2.5 points, but I don't think this is a good betting opportunity. I really don't, despite it being a divisional game.
Next up, the Detroit Lions travel to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. Vikings 14-point favorites at home. Again, contrarian, only 31% on the Vikings at 14. Fat guy, who you got?
Well, I spoke of this rule earlier, and I have to follow it again. I'll be taking the Lions plus 14. And again, the public seems to be favoring the Lions so far, but I do agree with you, Big Rye. I think it's going to level out a little bit. The Vikings, if they were able to somehow pull off that victory against Seattle, we could have seen this line maybe even jump. That would have been beauty. Lions plus 14.5. I don't know why, but that seems to speak to me a little bit more. So I'm going to be taking the Lions. I'm going to be taking the 14 points, despite the current iteration of percentages as far as public betting volume is concerned. I mean, like the 31% does scare me. And could the Vikings blow them out? Vikings also are injured too, though. Like Dalvin Cook is most certainly going to be out.
But so there's not that much of a drop-off between him and
Madison. Yeah, that is a surprising thing. People would think you're crazy, but I tend to agree with you. The gap between running backs is pretty thin, believe it or not. For instance, look at Le'Veon Bell and James Conner. You know, there's just a variety of players they've been able to get it done. Even C.J. Anderson did a great job last year in place of filling some snaps for Todd Gurley. So, I mean, it's not that crazy, but, I mean, it is a little bit extra boost for taking the Lions. Give me the Lions and the 14 points, purely in the contest, purely keeping it formulaic.
Next up, The Miami Dolphins travel to New York to take on the Jets. Jets 5-point favorites at home. 38% of early bettors are on the Jets. Fat guy, who you got?
So few betting options, so few. And this is another one. It's a contest pick. You're going to be taking the New York Jets. 38% of the public on the Jets I can understand because you have to lay 5 points against a Dolphins team that was thought to go winless, but is might even cover their over-under, which was 4.5. Yep. Big Rye's got a few doubloons on that one. I don't mind the Jets here. I think they could rebound. I mean, if you can beat the Raiders by 30 at home, you really can't beat the Dolphins. It's perfectly reasonable. I know I'm using that weird square reverse logic, but it does make sense. And I just want a bounce-back performance from the Jets. It's a do-up, do-down situation, I would say. Jets getting blown out by Cincinnati, and the Dolphins able to find victory from the Philadelphia Eagles. Kind of a good thing. If you were to, I would bet on this if the line were able to come down and there's a little bit of public money flowing on the Dolphins. That's a little bit funny to say considering the sentiments from earlier this year. But 5 points, I'll lay it in the contest. But if I were to bet on it, I'm going to need it to come down to like 3.5. I really do. I need to. 4's got to be a win for me. 3.5 with good juice. So look for that line to move. I severely doubt it will get down that low. Severely. I think it's going to probably hold steady here. But I'm going to be taking the Jets in the contest. And I'm going to be laying the 5 points.
I got a feeling it's going to stay steady too. It actually opened at 7.5, and this has been bet down to 5. But that 7.5 was a very early line before these results. So those results of last week have already come into this line, and it's now at 5.
Equilibrium.
Next up, the Indianapolis Colts travel to Tampa Bay to take on the Buccaneers. Buccaneers 2.5-point favorites at home. 29% of early bettors are on the Buccaneers. Fat guy, who you got?
I'm happy to lay the points here with the Bucs. The Colts they lost a divisional game to the Tennessee Titans, and now they've got I don't know if it's a difficult game, but the Bucs can contend. Bucs are probably the kings of uneven performances. I swear I crown a new person the king of uneven performances, but the Bucs were definitely in there. They had a good one against the Jags. Maybe that's because Nick Foles was playing, and there was a little bit of a feigned ability to grasp the offense, let's say. He held on the ball too long. I mean, I'm using handicapping stuff, but the Bucs were able to pull off a pretty convincing win against the Jags. And Indy had a couple things go against them in the Tennessee game. I still feel that Indy is way more of a public team because they are better than the Bucs. Clearly they are. But the Bucs at home, I feel they're 3.5-point favorites. I don't mind laying 2.5 points here. It's completely in the realm of what's believable. And 29% of people are on the Bucs. Easy pick here. I'll be betting on them too. Give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I'll be laying the points.
Next up, let's move on to the midday games. We'll start off with the Chargers traveling to Jacksonville to take on the Jags. Jags 3-point underdogs at home. 33% of early bettors are on the Jags. Fat guy, who you got?
I don't know. This is pretty interesting to me. I mean, the Jags have been losing and racking up losses and not doing well against the spread. But the Chargers haven't been convincing either, right? So it's interesting to see where they swayed on this line. And I don't think the Chargers should be favored in this game. I think it should be Jags minus 2.5, Jags minus 3 even. Gardner Minshew is going to be playing at quarterback. And like I said, I never like mentioning that kind of stuff. But I really do think he is far better than Foles at this moment in time with the current team and system that they're playing. The Jags, 33% on them. I really like this game. Jags plus 3. If I could somehow, in some fanciful world, get 3.5, I'd be betting a couple hard-earned dollars, let's say, on the Jacksonville Jaguars. So this is a contest pick and would be a bet for me. I like the Jags. I like the 3 points. And I think that this is a good chance to bounce back. Chargers, they have their own problems at quarterback, and I'm hoping the Jaguars defense is going to be able to take advantage. Give me the Jags, and I'm going to take the 3 points.
Market-wise, this game feels so weird to me because I figure at this line, a lot of the public would be on Jacksonville.
Makes sense.
People are betting the Chargers, so I don't know what's up with this line.
Fantastic. Let's take the Jags then.
Next up, Kansas City Chiefs travel to New England to take on the Patriots. Patriots 3-point favorites at home. Only 39% of bettors are on the Pats. Fat guy, who you got?
Is this a spot to take the Patriots? We've yet to take them all year. Except now. New England minus 3. Book it. I like this. This is perfect. New England coming off a blowout loss to the Houston Texans. Are we calling it that?
Any loss for the Patriots
is a blowout loss. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they did get that weird garbage time touchdown, But, I mean, they look pretty listless, the Patriots, the entire game. Chiefs can't look any better. Getting it done on defense. Juan Thornhill with a pick 6. And they won by, 31 points against the Raiders? It was a large number. So what do we got here? We got the Chiefs riding high and the Patriots riding lower. I'm going to be taking the Pats. I'm going to be laying the 3 points. I'm going to be very happy about this. I do think this should be a 4-point game, and it was at some point. And I could see the public pouring more money on KC. I feel like they play each other every year. And 2 years ago, KC, they had that wonderful win on the road. So maybe I'm hoping the public is remembering that game in some fashion. The Chiefs are more explosive, and the Patriots are more, we'll call reserved and disciplined. I like the Patriots in this spot, and I like them a pretty decent amount. Give me the Patriots, and I'll happily lay the 3 points.
Next up, the Pittsburgh Steelers travel to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. Cardinals 3-point underdogs at home. Only 31% of bettors are on the lowly Cards. Fat guy, who you got?
Oh, this is a classic fat guy pick. I'll be taking the Arizona Cardinals. 3 points at home. Book it. They're playing a third-string quarterback, second-string quarterback. I mean, again, I'm using handicapping stuff, but no one believes in them. Cardinals have been losing every week, and the Steelers, they're able to snatch back confidence with a win against the rival Browns, if you can even call the Browns a rival, realistically, when you look at the last 15 years. But Browns are technically a better team, and the Steelers at this point are able to, they're out-coach everybody, and they're able to get it done. But in this spot, they're traveling on the road to Arizona. I don't like them. The public does. Good. Give me the Cardinals. Give me the points. And I think they're kind of due for a bit better of a performance, let's say, because they've been blown out. They got blown out against the Rams, and they haven't had a good performance in at least in my short memory. And that's my memory is usually longer than the average Joe's. So if their Cardinals are looking bad in the public's eyes, I'll definitely be taking them, especially when I get 3 points at home. 31% of people on the Cardinals. Give me the Cardinals and give me the points.
Next up, the Tennessee Titans travel to Oakland to take on the Raiders. Raiders 3-point underdogs at home. Only 34% of bettors are on the Raiders. Fat guy, who you got?
Pretty much the exact same scenario as the past game. I'll be betting on the Arizona Cardinals before, and I'll be betting on the Raiders now. Raiders lost 2 games in a row by 30 or more points, I believe. And the Tennessee Titans, they're looking pretty good with a division win against the Indianapolis Colts. Tennessee is hot in the public's eye, but they've been playing the same in my estimation the entire time. You can say what you want about the Raiders' defense; they aren't good, but they can be capable. And it's not like Tennessee has too much to work with. I mean, you can say what you want about Derrick Henry; he's fantastic to watch. He's a load, but we can throw all that handicapping stuff out the window, like I always say. The Raiders don't look good in the public's eye. Tennessee does. 34% of people are on the Raiders. The Raiders get 3 points at home. Easy bet, Raiders.
All right, on to the next game. Sunday Night Football. Seattle at the LA Rams. Rams 2.5-point underdogs at home. 22% of early bettors are on the Rams. Fat guy, who you got?
Why can't I get 3 or 3.5? I'm still going to take them in the revenge game. I'm going to take the Los Angeles Rams, and hopefully Greg the Leg Zuerlein is able to kick through the uprights, the game-winning kick this time, costing us money that time. They did cover then, however, and I'm hoping they cover now. Let's see the Rams have a bounce-back performance, not from this past weekend when they blew out Arizona, but in general. They've been kind of low this year compared to the lofty expectations and are unlikely to make the playoffs. But if they do want to, they're going to have to beat the Seahawks this Sunday in primetime. I do like the LA Rams. The Seahawks couldn't be any more lucky. I think they're the team that's overrunning expectation the most. I mean, when you think about it, how many games have just been close? Like I called this Minnesota game close. The LA Rams game was close. They go to overtime against the Tampa Bay Bucks. They beat Cincinnati by 1 point at home. They're the highest winning team within 4 points, and then that would mean you're kind of running the hottest. And the Seahawks, every bounce is going their way these last few years, and it is highlighted by this year in particular, having a 10-2 season already. Unbelievable. Give me the Rams. Give me the 2.5 points, and I'm going to try and defy luck because I don't believe in it.
Next up, Monday Night Football. The Giants travel to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. Eagles 8.5-point favorites at home. 57% of early bettors are on the Eagles. Fat guy, who you got?
Ho-hum game for me, got to be honest. I'll be taking the Giants. I'll be taking the 8.5 points. I can't lay 8.5 with the Eagles. I couldn't lay 9 on the road when they lost to Miami, and I can't lay 8.5 now. If I were to, if my gut had a gun to it, and I have a big gut, it would definitely probably take the Eagles. But 8.5 points, because something feels weird about that line. But 8.5 points, my brain says is too much. I kind of have an affinity for the Giants, who have looked pretty bad recently. But I do feel like Daniel Jones is capable, and he's going to be good going down the stretch. And less of the public is betting on the Giants. This is purely a contest pick, though. I'll be taking the Giants. I'll be taking the 8.5 points, but I'm not too confident on this one.
All right, fat guy. Time for the lightning round. Let's go back over these games. Dallas at Chicago.
Chicago Bears.
Baltimore at Buffalo.
Bet of the week, Bills.
Washington at Green Bay.
Washington Redskins.
Denver at Houston.
Denver Broncos.
DT versus Mickey Hill. San Fran at New Orleans.
New Orleans Saints.
Cincinnati at Cleveland.
Cincinnati Bengals.
Carolina at Atlanta.
Hotlanta Falcons.
Detroit at Minnesota.
Detroit time, Detroit Lions.
Miami at the Jets.
Meet the Jets, greet the Jets.
Indy at Tampa Bay.
Bruce's Bucks.
On to the midday games. LAC at Jacksonville.
Jacksonville Jags.
Kansas City at New England.
New England Patriots for the first time.
Pittsburgh at Arizona.
Arizona Cardinals.
Tennessee at Oakland.
The every week Raiders.
Seattle at the Rams.
Can we get it done, Rams, please? One time.
And New York Giants at Philly for Monday night.
Giants in the points.
Well, Dylan's Daddies, that's it for us. NFL Week 14 picks in the books. Fat Guy, your thoughts for the upcoming Week 14?
We've had some ho-hum weeks. I'd like a bounce back here. So let's kick it off with this week, although I don't feel as good about it. I got to be perfectly honest. See, I said my tagline.
Well, that's perfectly honest. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and compete
or whatever.
For Week 14. The link will be down in the description box. Thanks as always, guys.
When you get a new mic.